Welcome everybody to the second series of the training about quantum technology for the policymakers. And this first session will start with unusual topic that we have not touched upon last year. And I will quickly share my slides so that you can. And here we are. So the first session will be about the societal challenges for the quantum technologies in Europe. Quickly save the dates because the next session is already in preparation and it will be talk about the technology transfer and most of all opportunities for the programs and opportunities for the companies in Europe. So quickly, big thanks to the Quantum Flagship and Coordination Project 𝐄𝐻𝐧𝐠𝐞𝐬 and specifically to the CNR, which is the organizing unit for this training. So I am Oxana Mishina and I work as a research fellow, and Costanza Toninelli is the professor that coordinates the working group at CNR for Quantum Flagship. She's also present with us today. And then we have Francesco Cataliotti, which is the director of the Institute of National Institute of Optics, where we work. And there is also Chiara Mostarelli, which is the project manager. So this is our 5-people team. In this training, as we already promised you several times, we keep trying to help you gain knowledge to take informed decisions and also to cooperate with peers from other countries. By the way, it's very important for us that the participants are today covering 32 different countries. And then last but not least, we would also like to help you sustain conversations with the QT quantum technology experts on various topics. So these are our goals for today. And I quickly want to share with you how many of you registered. So by today, it's actually 116. And the statistics about the registrants is very interesting today because, as I told you, we'd like to help policymakers in different areas as well, not in governmental policymaking and research and academia and industry and in other areas of policymaking. And we see that today, majority of you are from government, but there is a lot of people from research, decision-making sectors, and as well as industry and academia, and more people from multi-sectoral areas, let's say, that covers both governmental and industry, research and academia. So to the question how much people are informed about quantum technology, we see that majority of you followers actually keep yourself very well informed, but there are also people that are interested to know more or have heard very marginally about the technology, and we hope that today will provide them interesting insights. Last but not least, that I want to show you the span of you registered people that covers 32 countries today. And we do see peaks from certain countries that are following us already for a while, but we are happy to welcome new countries to participate. And as I already said, today we're going to talk about societal challenges for quantum technology innovations in Europe. And I think there are a lot, and this will be only the first session, and we hope we will get further today, at least a little step. Our first speaker, is going to be Dr. Marcela Linkova, and I welcome her to come on stage and open her video. And in the meantime, I'd like to tell you that she is head of the Center of Gender and Science at the Institute of Sociology in the Czech Academy of Science. And she got her PhD in philosophy from the Charles University in Prague. She's doing research on sociology of gender organizations and institutional changes. Among others, she's also a member, state co-chair of the ERA Forum subgroup on inclusive gender equality. She is also coordinating the GENDERACTIONplus, which is the second round of the Gender Action Project, which we wanted her to share with us today. But in addition, she would also tell us today about something that even I didn't know yet. Welcome, Marcela. We are looking forward for your talk.
Good morning, everyone. It's a big pleasure to join you here today, and thank you very much for the invitation. As you can see on my screen, I actually thought that it would be good to present today Gender Safe project, which is a project funded by Horizon Europe that started in March. And that's because of a recent development in the EU policymaking, which I will get to very shortly. So let me now share my screen. And I'm getting to the presentation mode, so you should now see my screen in presentation.
Perfect.
So I will be talking about gender equality and inclusive gender equality, which is what I do in my professional life. As you have heard, I'm the member state co-chair in the ERA Forum subgroup on inclusive gender equality, which brings together representatives of member states and umbrella organizations in the European research area to actually implement the ERA policy agenda on inclusive gender equality in this policy period 2022-2024. And we know that gender equality is now a priority in the European policy making. We have the EU Pact for Research and Innovation, and I have listed the cross-cutting or horizontal priorities that are listed there. So you can see a lot of these issues are, of course, relevant to all fields of research, including quantum. Gender equality and equal opportunities is one of them, but at the same time, I would argue that intersectional gender equality is relevant to all the other aspects that the EU Pact for Research and Innovation covers, including freedom of scientific research, ethics, free circulation, of course, pursuit of excellence, and value creation. And I will be speaking about some of these in my talk. We are all aware that intersectional gender inequalities persist in research and innovation. Women and other marginalized groups continue to be underrepresented, and this is specifically visible in technical sciences and engineering. And so while we're seeing some advances in the rising proportions of women among doctoral students and graduates, this is not translating into the research pipeline. And it is also true about physical sciences, math, ICT, engineering, and architecture and construction. We can see that women make up just over 20% in ICT in the EU, according to the most recent SHE figures. And so we have now one instrument in the EU that is intended to improve the situation, and those are gender equality plans. And we should be moving in line with the current EU policymaking towards inclusive gender equality plans to start addressing intersectional inequalities. But all the work that we see in the policymaking area, as well as in the various projects that are working on gender equality, we see that this is a huge challenge, both for the policymakers as well as for the institutions. And so there's another project actually currently underway called Inspire Center of Excellence, which is working on providing support to organizations to move their gender equality plans towards intersectionality. We very often hear that gender equality is a luxury that we cannot afford, that it's something that we can attend to only when the main issues in research and innovation are addressed. I want to argue the contrary. Not addressing gender equality is a luxury that we cannot afford. We are seeing, as I said, increases in the numbers of women in the enrollment in doctoral studies. So we are educating women and inducting them into the research pipeline in growing numbers. But then this is not translating into the workforce. So according to OECD studies, we can see that women are at most 1 in 5 among researchers in the business enterprise sector. Also, women inventors, and the proportion of women among inventors is lower than 20%, with the exception of Portugal and Greece. And we can see that, as I said, women among adults with doctorates is between 40 and 60% in OECD countries, but of course for the ICT sector, this is low. And so we need to ask, with this pool of talent that we have, what sort of conditions are we creating in our research and innovation institutions that women enter? And so this gets me to the persistent causes of inequality in research and innovation culture, which are, of course, gender stereotypes that then translate into people from marginalized positions, including women, having imposter syndrome very often. So this means that they hold themselves back just by sheer force of gender stereotypes. We have gender biases, and this translates into what Marianne Sieghart calls the authority gap. And the most recent statistics are actually quite staggering, showing that we have stagnation or even reduction in women being perceived as authority in research. And this is linked to power differentials, hierarchies, and also gender-based violence along the entire spectrum, including microaggressions that people face in research. So what is needed? I want to talk today about the most recent output from the European Commission's ERA Forum subgroup on inclusive gender equality, which we actually launched last week at the ERA Conference 2024. That's the Zero Tolerance Code of Conduct. And so what does this Zero Tolerance Code of Conduct tell us? One thing is that we need to be open about the fact that we have inequalities and various forms of gender-based violence in research and innovation. And this continues to be often an issue for research organizations to acknowledge. We need, as individuals at all levels, commit to act every day to counter. And we really need to hold leadership, and with this, men accountable, really assume responsibility for creating equitable conditions in their research organizations. I think that there are concepts being developed by Professor Jennifer Freit, who is a professor in psychology at the University of Oregon and launched the Center for Institutional Courage, that help us grasp the huge importance of this, which is when we act, we display institutional courage, because the issue of gender equality continues to be very difficult. But also when we do not act, when we put things under the carpet, when we do not support victims of discrimination and gender-based violence, we commit institutional betrayal. And this is extremely painful, but also, this is one of the reasons why people then leave research institutions. And this is the conditions that I was talking about earlier that we need to think about creating to retain in all fields of research, including quantum, the women that we are educating. So the reason I'm also talking about the Zero Tolerance Code of Conduct and the Gender Safe project today is that on occasion of launching the Zero Tolerance, Gender Safe launched a pledge which institutions and individuals can take. And it is to act in line with the Zero Tolerance Code of Conduct, which essentially means taking all forms of gender-based violence seriously in our everyday conduct in the institutions. And the Zero Tolerance Code of Conduct is constructed around 3 areas: commitment, action, and accountability. And so before I close, I will just say a few words about the Gender Safe project so that you know where I'm speaking from. It's a project that is funded in Horizon Europe, started in March and will run until 2027. It has 6 partners. It's coordinated by the European Science Foundation. And the mission is to support research and higher education institutions in establishing safe and respectful working environments by setting up comprehensive policies. There are 4 objectives. One is to strengthen the zero tolerance policies by developing unified policy discourse, which is tied to this just launched Zero Tolerance Code of Conduct. Encourage the adoption of policies. So we're launching in October a community of practice of institutions. develop institutional capacities by training. This has already started, and a lot of our trainings are online. And then creating a knowledge base on data collection and monitoring systems on gender-based violence in Europe. You can follow the project on social media, of course, and this will be it from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Marcela. I am trying to turn on my videos, but this is not working for some strange reason. It doesn't matter. In any case, my big thanks to Marcela for presenting this new project and new activity that supports institution, which is, I think, a very important point to work on. And now I would like to invite our second speaker, Pieter Vermaas, to open his camera, and I will present him in a meantime. Pieter Vermaas, Associate Professor in the Ethics and Philosophy of Technology Department at Delft University of Technology. And he has contributed to the creation of the dual nature of technical artifacts research program, which lasted 5 years. And it is very important for us also that he helped establishing in 2017 the Delft Design for Values Institute, which I think was a big starting point for the program for society and quantum delta that Pieter will definitely mention to us today. Welcome. The stage is yours, Pieter.
Thank you, Oxana. Okay. If everything is fine, you'll see now my first slide.
All perfect.
Great. Now, well, thanks first of all. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for the invitation to join here. Yeah, what I want to do is to inform you, tell you about what the role of ethicists is in the ecosystem if it comes to societal challenges of quantum technologies, the theme of this meeting. And I'll do that for me, not for advertising or, but just to tell what kind of position I take into the ecosystem, because it illustrates, let's say, the modern way of doing ethics of a technology and addressing societal challenges. Well, as Oxana said, I'm a philosopher at TU Delft. I started with foundations of quantum mechanics, so that's kind of center of quantum technologies. But then for a couple of years, I just worked on things of philosophy of technology. But now I'm back in the quantum realm, and I work in quantum delta ML, leading a team of researchers on only ethics. So that's really big also. Yeah, so let me tell what I am doing, why there is an ethicist, or even 6 of them in Quantum Delta NL. Quantum Delta NL is the Dutch program for developing quantum tech for 7 years, serious funding. And of course, it is about developing technology. So the bulk of the effort is on number 1, research on quantum technologies and facilities. But the innovativeness of this program is that it immediately recognized that technology is not isolated. Already Marcela showed us that technology is within society, so things which are important in society should be represented in technology too. And that's built into the program immediately. So the first step is it's this onion model, which you see at the right. At the core is research, but then there's a layer of business development around it. Technology should be developed. It should not just be science and engineering, startups, SMEs, and so on. Then, as a third layer, it's also recognized that, well, you can create a movement towards quantum technology, but if you don't have the people of all genders included already, you can't scale up. then also the technology can scale. So talent development, education, also there. Then finally, ethics and law. Social sciences is the outer layer. That's rhetorically better. At the end of the spectrum, far away from the research, but kind of the interface with society, and some would argue is actually quite working with everyone in that ecosystem. What do we do? It's law and social sciences. We are, in a sense, trying to identify and also address societal challenges of quantum technologies. We do research on that. So what is happening? What are the challenges? How should we think about that? Should we accept them? Maybe some developments in quantum technology should not be done. We do research on that, and we do that in collaboration with society. So this fourth layer also has a center on society, and there we explore together with people, organizations in society, what quantum technology could mean for them. And meaning is, does that have opportunities for organizations, ministries, and so on, or does it pose threats? If they are threats, how can we deal with that? We do that with them in workshops in the center, but we don't want to monopolize that. It's also too much. So we also delegate that task of exploration by making tools available. The one which you see on the bottom is the exploratory quantum technology assessment. It's a method which you can download, by which organizations themselves can see what kind of challenges come with quantum technology for them. Good. Let's go to my field of philosophy of ethics. There has been a development, as is what with quantum technology. Let's say the old-fashioned way of doing ethics is that you are stern as a philosopher. You look at these technologies. Okay, what are you doing there? And you're critical. You're outside and you're critical. So you analyze what kind of impact the technology has. You identify what the challenges are, and then you give a normative assessment of it. And yeah, we done it for decades, but still, of course, it's not attractive. You look at the paper of Marcela, say she identified the challenge and she is helping us with addressing it. And the new school of ethics of technology is like that. So we want to be this time in the ecosystem of technology development. So that's why I am in Quantum Delta now. And we want to help shaping that technology. It comes with names like technology assessment, but then constructive, responsible research and innovation, organizing interaction between the developers of technology and outside stakeholders. And we, of course, then assume that that interaction in responsible research and innovation will lead to a change of the technology in order to address possible challenges. And as Oxana announced, within engineering ethics, you have also tools to actually shape technologies such that moral or social values are being realized. There, the focus was on ICTs, on social media. Can you design social media which keep privacy safeguarded, which enable people to have a dialogue? Well, same for quantum technologies. I'll help there to design them applications for values. And then the ethicist is not so much the external criticizer, but it's a scout of challenges, and it's a pilot to move the ship of quantum technologies towards the good. Okay, that last metaphor suggests that quantum technology is a ship which just goes straight on, and external society only has the possibility to push a bit and to alter the course. Well, actually, also that idea is old-fashioned. Initially, when quantum technology was started, it looked a bit like that. It had initial old-fashioned aims, like, okay, we want to have economic growth in Europe or in our country, and we want to outcompete with all the others, better be China, better than US. So the traditional aims, but you already could see that other aims were added. Cybersecurity. Quantum technology is meant to help society to address an issue with securing communication. And what you saw in the last years is that actually quantum technology itself, also the flagship itself, got additional challenges on its plate. Sovereignty, it's about national sovereignty. Quantum technology is security. We got the assignment to be secure with our knowledge. We're not anymore allowed to let others learn from what we do. And then in addition, there are also groups which say, well, if we develop this technology, it should also be for World Economic Forum, the benefit of humankind. Well, great. I've never seen it so grand. And the efforts to also help the realizing the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Okay, if you combine these two developments, so ethics wants to be constructive, technology, quantum technology wants to address quantum of societal challenges, then you get collaboration on issues of societal challenges. I'll give a couple of them from my own experience, from my own practice, and then end with a question if you would know more. What I do in my regular work is indeed have workshops with organizations outside of the ecosystem, what quantum technologies can mean to them, ministries, other institutes, more governmental, and then more zooming into the technology. I work in one of the flagships projects to build a large computer, Open Supercube plus 100. And the ethical issue which arises there is that let's assume they are really effective. So in a couple of years, we have in Europe a quantum computer with more than 100 qubits. What you then do is to create scarcity. You have quantum computing time. You are realized, you're confronted with questions of allocation. Who can use that? Only European actors, only things on science, only on defense. So a step forward in technology immediately also itself presents problems, societal challenges. The second one I'm working on is a worry about actually solidarity, who can benefit from quantum technologies. If we develop it in Europe, can it also be of use in, say, the global south? We're now in this frame that quantum technology is European, US, and China, and compete, but there's a whole domain in the world. And organizations like UNESCO are concerned with making that part quantum ready. Further examples, very briefly, if you as an ethicist look at it, in addition to the gender issue, well, quantum computers and communication, internet, that's big infrastructure. If you have it, you have this allocation and access questions. Who can use it? For what? Who cannot use it? Those normative questions we help solve. Quantum sensors probably are smaller and can be, many people can obtain them. So there the question is not of access, but more of what kind of impact will it have on society if, let's say, everyone can scan 100 meters into the ground or 100 meters through a building. Then other kinds of questions about our own research, this assignment of knowledge security has as a flip side that all of a sudden research projects which are open, international, collaborating, or globally are kind of shut down or into problems. Colleagues have to say, well, maybe we cannot collaborate anymore with the post that which we just hired because it's from another country. Also, there are normative questions about how this research develops. Finally, globally, trying to prevent quantum divides, global quantum divides. That's an issue where it's a more moral issue, but also an issue where we as ethicists can help coming up with responses. Having said that, I want to conclude actually with a question for you. I'm scratching the surface of ethical issues and societal challenges of new technology. You have much more, you have your own perspective. What kind of challenges do you see? And could you collaborate with ethicists? Not with me, I've not worked, but there are many other ethicists who could help you addressing those things. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Peter. We have got a very broad platea to talk about in the coming 25 minutes. And I'm really happy to invite back Marcela to the stage and open her camera. I still cannot open my camera. Maybe I need to ask Peter to give me some rights back. And I already appreciate questions that come through the question and answer. Peter, if you can make me a co-organizer, that should be enough.
Okay.
So we have already got a couple of questions that Marcela was such kind to answer right away. And this is very nice collaboration from the panel. Yeah, I'm coming. Thank you, Peter. We did it. Yeah, good team. I would like to work with ethicists. That's for sure. And we have also received a few questions while people were registering to the session. And while we are waiting for other questions to come in the question and answer, I wanted to read out loud one of the questions that came through the registration, which is very global, but I like the way that people like Marcela and Peter kind of dismount the globality and possibility to answer one question into many other questions. So the question is the following. It was asked by the Emily Haworth she's a student at TUM in Denmark. And her question is, how can we ensure that quantum technology does not contribute to closing off countries and increasing conflicts? So it is as complex as it can be, probably difficult to answer, but I would like to hear you, Peter, and you, Marcela, thoughts of how to dismount this question into more answerable questions.
Shall I start, Marcela? Yeah, no, it will be a fight, struggle. Let's just be honest. You see two developments in quantum technology on the policy level. One is to shut off interaction and collaboration. That's knowledge security. Let's keep it for ourselves. So a threat to open science. Yeah, at the other side, definitely efforts on the UN level, on multilateral level to use this technology for the benefit of humankind, as the World Economic Forum said. really interesting is that both proponents are kind of serious actors in the international field. So it's definitely not, let's say, a few left-wing radicals who say we should use this technology for international collaboration. No, it's a struggle within the ecosystem itself. Yeah, the tide is definitely in the wrong direction. Many actors think that they should protect their knowledge and let's say block access of the other. There are definitely efforts at UN level, at OECD level, to counter that. I hope that is successful. I will help, and you can help. It's also really an issue to make explicit in research institutes themselves. I noticed that people don't want to talk about it, but yeah, prefer to let's say just continue as usual. So some kind of emancipation is needed there, and maybe Marcela can help us also say something about how you have a grassroots development to support a course like this, because I agree we should keep international.
You know, I don't think that I have an easy answer, because the optimist in me would be aligned with, working together, trying to set up the ethics codes, how to use. But then we live in a world when we can very clearly see that boundaries are crossed, and there's a lot of unethical behavior going on. And so that really curbs the optimist side in myself, where, I would, of course, support always communalism, going back to some of the values on which research was based and which we are trying to develop through open approaches, etc. But at the same time, we can see that this has never really worked for everyone equally in research. And now the geopolitical aspects are once again rising to the front. In ways that, for example, me, after, let's say, 1989, with the political change, because I come from the Czech Republic, I never imagined that we would be in such a geopolitical situation as we are in today again, and that it would continue to have impact on frontier research to the same extent that it did, for example, in the 1950s and 60s during the Cold War. So I think that we also need to see the lessons learned from that period of time and be very, very cautious. And I think that the role of the EU, very firmly on the front of ethics, research and integrity, and protections of governance of law and rule of law, are really critical values which we need to use to inform global approaches and the global approaches policy for EU policymaking for the upcoming period of time.
The answers are as heavy as the question was, so there is not an easy way, but there is a way to go. And this is, I think, important for all of us to speak about and to talk about and to keep it motivated. I would like to then proceed to some of the questions in the Q&A that were asked. And here I think I'll ask to start Marcela, because the question that I'm also very interested in is from Daniela Valenzuela, and she's asking, are you aware of any efforts to measure the Oh, wait a second. This is a very interesting question. It actually ends up very much to the previous two. So to measure percentage of women involved in the research and workflow of quantum technology, workforce of quantum technology, because it's like all the sections have its own ecosystem, and measuring things in ecosystem is always very challenging. So we are trying, but I know the difficulties. I'd like to ask Marcela address that in together maybe with the question of is there a difference in the gender gap between high innovative new areas like quantum tech is getting now, and AI maybe is also since a while already. So a reflection on this topic would be very, very nice. Thank you, Marcela.
So some of this may be more difficult to address because we do not have the granular statistics for everything. I mean, you know, even at the OECD level or in the sheep figures for the European Commission and Eurostat, we would have broad statistics for ICT fields, but there are particular efforts and there is a cost action on women in quantum technology. So I think that there is definitely growing awareness, and we're also seeing that the women in quantum are self-organizing, which I think is always very good, that women are coming together to name the issues that they're facing. We're also seeing startups and companies being set up by women, and this translates into employment because some of these initiatives have it as their as their objective to create working opportunities for other women in tech. So I think that this grassroots self-organizing is important, and I think that we will need to do better to receive more granular statistics. I mean, to me, it's still astounding that in this day and age, it's sometimes difficult to get proportions of women among professors across different fields, etc. Some countries still do not collect this. And then the business enterprise sector, I think that we really have, you know, the biggest challenge that we have is get the business enterprise sector on board for inclusive gender equality endeavors, because the gender equality plan requirement in Horizon Europe, for example, does not pertain to business enterprise sector. There are individual initiatives taken by major companies towards diversity, but diversity is not always the same as inclusiveness and equity. So I think that really that in the world of companies working on this topic, that's where we need to see more activity along the lines of what I was discussing, you know, create an environment where women can thrive equally to men, free from biases, stereotypes, and all forms of violence.
Thank you very much, Marcela. I'm really glad to hear all this. I noticed that sometimes, actually, nonetheless, it's really, really difficult to get the statistics. People put efforts on board. So today, for example, I was amazed by reading the report from Quantera, which I just posted the picture now from. They have counted all the PIs, they have counted the gender statistics about the PIs who submitted the projects and those who went through. They made a success rate calculus out of this, which seems to be easy, but actually I know that this kind of calculus is not that often done. But nowadays I think it's going to be changed. So I think also European projects of other kinds are now counting the statistics, at least of the PI leaders of the projects, which is partial, but already something. Thank you so much, and let's proceed to the further questions. Daniel, now I will have a trouble. Rilonda, I hope I did it right, is asking, isn't there a huge gap between open research and industrial commercialization? And what is ethical if you try to get funding for projects and build up your career in both research and industry, please? Very tricky one. And like when you think about the society and the communities and when you think about yourself, so how to reason in this case?
Yeah, let me have a quick attempt to say something about. Yeah, of course, there's a big gap between open research and commercialization, because typically startups have to be under the radar and develop their ideas without being too transparent about what they do, and then they pop up, and then you have a startup. So there's a different dynamics in it. Only in the old days, one decade ago, you had open development in ICT, and that you together would create a technology with software. Yeah, that's less possible. It is logically possible, right? So you can do it, but typically the money goes, the funding of governments and industry goes to projects which go under the radar because they want to have their money back and they want to keep it for themselves. So here you see again that mechanism that a startup should be European, US, and should not go anymore. Questions for what is ethical or not? Yeah, that's in this case a much more personal question. So if you want to start in industry, I think I would recommend, please decide what you would like to do. Why do you want to do quantum technology? Do you want it to work on SDG, or do you want to do it to get funding? So it's a more personal question, and definitely you will be taken once you start talking with financials. You will take it into a flow of be efficient, have your plans ready. But yeah, the answer would be keep in mind what you actually want to do, your motivation. Yes, a bit Protestant way of answering this, but that's the best I can do.
Marcela, would you like to add something? I'd like to add a quick observation that happened to me in one of the events. You know, in these big events where people have to, on one side, show up very well so that they will be attracting the others to them. On the other side, they want to give something to others so that it's already of use. And then people have good ideas usually, and they want to do other things in addition. So there is a lot of like explosion of doing, and I really like it. It's amazing. But then one evening after this conference, we came to discuss a little bit more intimate, and we came to such a question, which is a big why. And this is what Peter is saying. Once you are to do something, answer among yourselves, why do you really want to do it? It's just an observation. We did the round of this and we came out with things we were surprised about ourselves. It's such an easy question, and it can bring you to very simple answers, which might not be exactly the way you've thought about it before. So I was amazed by such an experience, and I truly wish everybody to try it at least once. That's helping a lot. Saving resources, your personal ones, first of all, and then also the others.
I follow up and actually ask a question to myself. On the basis of the questions which came in, there's a question about is quantum hard to understand? Is it how can beginners enter the field? And here I think you should, as a person, be autonomous and see what actually is happening. Of course, quantum is always seen as counterintuitive, and it's very difficult to capture it. So if you want to say something about quantum technology, you have to first do that. Well, this is actually kind of an exclusion mechanism. And so there's a group of people who really know what quantum is. They're a quantum physicist, male of a certain group. And they say to the others, before you can say, enter the discussion on quantum technology, you first have to be educated according to my knowledge. My experience is it's not at all needed. You can describe what a quantum computer does without any reference to qubits or interference or entanglement. Just say, you can solve these problems, what would you do with it? So here I would say this is one of the mechanisms to exclude people or make it difficult for people to enter the ecosystem. We should stand up against it. Marcela, is that something which you recognize?
I mean, absolutely. And, you know, it goes for all the, say, hard sciences, and the harder it gets, you know, the more exclusionary it is because of the images and imaginaries that we build around this. You know, and it goes to such small, silly things, like, for example, now in the Czech Republic, you know, we have gendered language. And so we're trying to change Researchers' Night, which is coming up tomorrow, so that it is Men and Women Researchers' Night or Science Night, because otherwise it excludes women because of our gendered language. And this small thing, you know, women do not see addressed through language. Then there are large portions of the community that say, oh, these are stupid things, we do not need to worry about it. But we're saying, yes, we need to worry about it, because if women cannot recognize themselves in the images that we are showing, there are no role models, we don't communicate, then, you know, then other aspect that research shows that being socially responsible and useful is definitely a consideration for girls and women. So if we can communicate what we're working on or what the research is going to contribute potentially, even if it's blue skies research, it can definitely be important. And then there are, of course, all the stereotypes that start kicking in around the age of 6, the moment girls enter the educational pipeline. And this is really problematic, compounded by the fact that parents very often hold these stereotypes and will dissuade their daughters from fields of research that are stereotypically you know, seen as masculine. And so I think that it's really the responsibility of all of us, and especially the community, to create an inviting environment. I mean, we are clearly seeing that there are no differences in the brains of women and men. So there are no predispositions that would bar women from, you know, understanding quantum. But we just need to dismantle the stereotypes. And I think that having leaders that can be inclusive is very important, and men can act very seriously as such inclusive leaders and role models for women. It does not have to be always women who bear the brunt of being the role model and this impacting their careers as well, because it's very, first of all, demanding and time consuming.
Thank you very much for sharing, Marcela, about the Researchers' Night challenge in Czech Republic. That's when we come to change the axioms, let's say, no, that we have been using our lives. It's a lot of energy investment, I think, for everybody, and this is to be not underestimated. Thank you so much. I think we still have 2 minutes. This is magic. I would like to maybe give us a chance to answer one more question, and then we will close the session after that. So this is the question from the list of registered people, and I see that this is coming from the industry side now. It's Roberto Magnani that was asking. He's from Italy, and it's more like an orientation question, which I think is very difficult to address. And given the vast potential of quantum technologies, how can we prioritize investment in specific areas? So choosing between sensors or computers, as well as cybersecurity and everything, as we all know that prioritizing must happen even locally when a company decides to throw into resources. So how do you address these questions when they come to you, Peter?
Yeah, it depends on what you want to do. Let's say that old way of looking at technology, it's about economic development, while then better focus on the sensors, because they will probably create a market where you can sell your products pretty soon. Having said that, what you see is that quantum actually is driven by national motives, maybe also big tech motives of entities, states, or big tech wants to dominate the new development. So it's about who can break encryption, who can secure communication. Those are really basic things. There you see that it's driven by investments from governments and from big tech. So if you are interested in those aims, then focus on those, on the priorities of those actors, states, and big companies. If you're interested in SDGs, come up with a nice plan and go to the Open Quantum Institute at CERN, Sweden, Switzerland, because they will invest there. So it depends really on what is your motivation. That was the other question. What is ethical?
Yeah, so there is a great game which somehow lowers a little bit the pressure, but hinders a lot highlights a lot the need. It's called Play Decide, which is a game of discussion, and it's on quantum technologies. Was constructed by 𝐒𝐿FO, Photonic Institute in Spain, and they have tried to formulate it such that after 3 rounds of some exchange of information and learning, people were asked to come to consensus altogether on what to finance. It's a very interesting role play game, I think, where you need to decide to be in the position of the policymaker. And I repeat, it's called Play Decide on quantum technologies. I recommend everybody trying that. I think this is a good exercise on choosing, which is not simple. No. In the meantime, I'm really happy because we've got one more question to I think to both of you. Maybe Peter would start, and it's actually about the legal ethical framework that sometimes there is a fear that this could hinder the development. I have heard Peter talking about it before, that indeed this fear exists. And so what can we expect from that? Could it help us to meet our SDGs, or will it actually be slowing us somehow down? I like this ethical question a lot, because this is so big as like a question whether progress is actually doing good to us or doing bad to us, and so on and so far. But I think it's good to share your current position on that.
Yeah, it's such a generic question that legal ethical frameworks can hinder But yeah, we're living in so many countries, so you can change what's not possible here, you can do there. I think if you look at quantum, the main structural developments which it introduces is one, well, bringing different groups. So what used to be a kind of male-dominated European American effort of quantum mechanics, physics, now becomes really big. So that's a development which is going on, and we have to shape it. The second one is that geopolitical development. So it's not a legal, ethical, but it's a political framework which will shape quantum technologies. That having said, we're in the beginning of development. We can do whatever we like with it, in a sense. If you stop, you have an initiative in quantum to work on the SDGs. You have many initiatives to work on gender balance. So let's fuel those, and then the legal and ethical frameworks will follow.
Thank you, Peter. This is very nice. So, Marcela, would you like to add something in the style of luxury that we have or we don't?
I mean, exactly. I think that it's always extremely important to consider research and innovation advances in terms of the impact it can potentially have and the repercussions it can have on societies. And the long line of research in science and technology studies shows us that, issue of risks and how we manage risks and who is responsible for risk management is always there. It never goes away. And I think that we cannot treat this as something that we will address once it advances and we know where it's going to go, because it will get there before us. I mean, we have seen it with AI. We see the huge numbers of risks and the detrimental effects of applications of AI that are gendered, that are racist, that are economically disadvantageous. So we know this already from applications of innovations in other fields. So I think that the precautionary principle and having boundaries that will set a framework for what we do is really critical. We have done that in biosciences. We have done it in a number of other fields of research. And I think that we do not have maybe better instruments now than come to a table, use participatory techniques, and discuss how we want, what sort of boundaries do we want to put on some of the uses. It's not saying that we can't research things, but the uses and applications. And I think that this is important. It's not just going to be quantum, where there are huge risks of abuse and misuse, but all other fields of research. And I don't think that it's fully valid criticism that it will stall development in the business enterprise sector. It should not. It needs to be ethical. Even in the business enterprise sector, the businesses are, it's not a free for all. We need to have ethical standards. So that would be my take on it.
Thank you very much, Marcela. It was a great session. I deeply appreciate your participation and your availability. And I'm looking forward for the continuation of discussing these topics at this stage. It was a great pleasure meeting you, and I wish you all a good day.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank you very much.